I just thought I'd make another video talking about, this time actually, top tier jets, because I've covered ground quite a lot, but never really jets, apart from their CAS capability. But obviously, so the main two types of top tier jet that you see are Phantoms and MiGs, and this absolutely obliterates pretty much everything in the game. It's faster, accelerates better, climbs better, has, I think actually has less thrust in the SMT, but yet somehow just seems to way outperform anything else. And it gets 6 of what are arguably, the best missiles in the game. And they're extremely easy to use. Now, the American Phantom, at least this one, gets AIM-9Js, which are very good. But this one, for some reason, is the same BR, it doesn't have flares, and never gets AIM-9Js. As far as I remember. Yeah, it doesn't. The best missile it gets is the AIM-9E and AIM-7D. This is virtually useless at top tier. But by far the most egregious one of all of this are these. These make absolutely no sense. They actually, for a start, they actually have the wrong radar. They have the wrong avionics, which is hilarious. But they also have the wrong missiles. Why do they have these when the American counterpart has J's? This is a 10.7 aircraft. It has flares. Why is it not getting equivalent missiles? It makes no sense. As far as I know, this thing performs worse at high alt than the American Phantom. That's what I've heard. And from what I've seen in game, it seems to. It accelerates better. Its low speed performance its low out performance is very, very, very good. But it just simply doesn't have the armament to back it up at all. And I don't think this has either. No, AIM-9Ds. These are not good missiles. You get better missiles than this on the AV-8 at 9.7. It's actually quite moronic, the armament these planes have. You then go to things like Sweden, where this thing doesn't even have flares. True, it gets what I see are essentially AIM-9Js, as far as I can tell, but it has no flares, which is just absolutely stupid, because at top tier without flares, you essentially can't be aggressive, because you can't afford to let anyone get on your tail, and it's a huge disadvantage. I go to the Mirage. Now the Mirage also is, it doesn't get flares, which is stupid. Now it gets extremely good missiles, as far as I can tell. Never used them, because I'm not really interested in the French tree, but the magic ones seem absolutely amazing. But it doesn't get flares, so it can't protect itself against other missiles. For me in my MiG-21 bis, I can outperform this pretty much in all scenarios, and its missiles don't, worry me, because I have flares. It's not a problem. You go to, this is just pathetic. This is literally awful. It's completely non-competitive. It's useless, essentially, because of these. Now, these AIM-7Es can be useful, but they are only really useful when they're complementing another missile. So on the Phantom, they're nice to have alongside the AIM-9J, but your main weapon is your AIM-9J. Go to China, again, they have this, which I don't know what it gets. It gets these, which are bad. And I'm pretty sure this gets, let's have a look. It gets J's. So why does this get AIM-9Js? Yet the British plane doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. I'm pretty sure the F1, which is a 10.3, it gets AIM-9, basically AIM-9Js. AIM-9Ps are essentially Js. The EJ gets also gets AIM-9Js. So why is the British plane being gimped to such a large degree? It's really quite awful. It's to the point, actually, where these red tops are arguably better than the missile these two 10.7 gets. 10.7s get. Arguably, this has better missiles. This has better missiles. If I remember rightly, let's see, what does this get? I know this gets air to airs. This gets literally, as far as I can tell, the same. I think this gets the same missiles as the Phantoms do. Let me have a look. No, okay, no. So as far as I can tell, these are like worse Gs from using them because I've used them on American planes and they feel slightly worse than AIM-9 Gs, which you get at like 9.7. You then get jets like this that are 9.7 and they have Js, yet a British 10.7 doesn't get them. It also gets flares, yet this doesn't. I really don't understand the methodology behind how Gaijin's trying to balance this game, especially top tier jets, but it's completely unbalanced. Essentially the way it works is this, this, this. Yeah, I would say those three basically just feast on whatever the hell they want, essentially. And the MiG pretty much just outcompetes those two. It makes no sense. Every 10.7 jet should have its country's best missile and flares. No compromise. It makes absolutely no sense for a 10.7 to not have flares. Why does this not have flares? It's 10.7. It really makes no sense. Meanwhile, a plane literally a whole BR below it, in fact, multiple planes a whole BR below it, have flares. Now you may say, oh, it didn't have flares in real life. Well, this isn't real life. It's a game. And there's a point you have to understand this concept, that a game requires balance for it to be anything close to enjoyable. I mean, to give you an idea, this has R60s. It's 9.3. So does this, if I remember rightly. Yeah, it's 9.7. But meanwhile, a 10.7 British jet can't have AIM-9Js. As far as I know, I might be wrong on this, I've heard it in real life, these sometimes use AIM-9Ls, which are even better than Js. It really starts to get rather ridiculous. I mean, look at that. The Jaguar, this relatively crap 10.0, has a better missile than the two Phantoms on the British tree. I'm sorry if this sounded like a rant, but it's quite annoying that you get stuff like this. It's so obviously imbalanced that, you know, you have all these. I mean, let's put it this way: these two vehicles are the same BR. In no way are they equivalent at all. They're not equivalent at all. This doesn't get flares, doesn't get Js. This does. Let's go to USSR. These two are not equivalent at all. This doesn't get flares. And as far as I can tell, it performs worse. Yet they're the same BR. Both of these have worse missiles than the EJ and the C. Sorry, the E. But yet they both are the same BR. It starts to really make absolutely zero sense. And it's completely unfair as well, because let's say someone's mainlining a tree, because they don't have the time to grind out, you know, as many trees as I have had time to grind out. You know, they don't have that sort of time, you know, given I play tanks and air. So let's say they've ground out the British, or they've ground out France or Sweden or whatever, they've mained one line, and they get to this top tier and it's completely uncompetitive. It's not fair. It's really completely unfair. Now, you really need to start giving almost every nation competitive missiles. They all need to have roughly the same overload, so they can track. They all need to have flares if they're 10.7, and they need to have similar performance as well, because this 21 bis massively outperforms the Phantom by a huge margin. To give you an idea, I like to test planes from them being landed to Mach, and then see how quickly they can get to 10,000 meters in vertical climb. This will get to Mach 1 in about 40 seconds, and then it will hit about 10,000 meters in about 30 seconds. The Phantom is about 20 to 25% slower than that, and then when you get to 10,000 meters and you flatten out and you go to top speed, this will hit Mach 2.21 before it rips. The Phantom will not get to Mach 2 in any reasonable amount of time. Yeah, the performance difference is enormous. It's staggering, the performance difference. Now, This Phantom, with its crap missiles, actually has very good acceleration. But past that, it's virtually useless. It doesn't climb as well as the Biss, and it certainly doesn't have the armament to compete. Now, the solution to this is very simple. Give them the armament to compete. It's really not that hard. All you have to do is give both of these AIM-9Js, give this flares and AIM-9Js, because it's a 10.7, so it should have them. You don't need to do anything with these, that's fine. Yeah, this can stay as it is. Most of these can stay as they are. This needs flares, and so does this. It's very simple to fix this problem, yet Gaijin just seems to be relatively oblivious to it. Or they just completely disregard it and add in crap like the PFM that is literally just ruining top tier jets right now because they just get spammed. And it's basically, if you're playing Russians or you get paired with the Russians, you either win the game in about 3 minutes because you've got loads of bisses, or you're paired with PFMs and lose the game in about 3 minutes. It doesn't make for very consistent gameplay or fun gameplay. It can be quite frustrating. So that's pretty much my thoughts on some of the issues at top tier jets. I hope Gaijin address them, and hopefully one day we can actually have a balanced top tier that makes sense.